Welcome back to Risque Business News. It's really good to see you again. This is Laura.
This is May.
Today we are going to be talking about a story that has been rocking my world the last 48 hours.
Stressed. She did a lot of research for this one, so buckle up, everybody.
It's also like, once again, I'm just scratching the surface, so I just want to remind you, there's more out there. I'm not a goddamn journalist, okay? But
we try.
We do our best, and
we don't try at all. We literally.
I played Breath of the Wild, and I listened to 4 hours of a podcast, and I was like, I'm doing research.
Yeah, you're like, so I'm gonna regurgitate that podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but they were like actually like very, serious.
What's the podcast called?
I don't remember. I should link it.
Listen, we'll link it afterwards so you guys can not just
leave
this podcast
it's
right
not
now.
a funny one, so like, I mean, good for them for like, going after things for like actual reasons.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you the regurgitated version. I also read like 25 articles, so.
Damn, girl.
Point being, really have been in it, and today we are going to talk to you about the Silk Road.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. The Silk Road, if you're not familiar, is Amazon for illegal shit.
All kinds of illegal shit, right? Like, because I thought when I was growing up, I heard about it almost like an urban legend. I thought that it was not real and people just said it was real. Like, I don't know, it's like an anecdote at parties or something. And I thought it was just for like weed and like mushrooms and stuff, but it's for everything illegal.
So, kind of. It started, great questions. Urban legend, it definitely is if you didn't know better, you'd definitely think so. Primarily drugs. So Silk Road sold everything drug related. But they started with shrooms. So that might have been part of where the like rumors started to come from.
Okay.
And there were periods where other more nefarious things kind of came into play.
Okay.
Which is
like sex trafficking and shit?
Oh yeah, like
you're gonna get into
like murders.
Oh.
Like hitmen.
Oh.
Like I know, like less like we were like, oh, hot, oh, that's hot, less hot.
That's so funny.
Acid, love that.
That's such like a aunt thing to do, to be like, I want to murder my husband. Let me create this paper trail on this interweb. No one's gonna find me. I'll just make myself like murderous vixen.
Auntie.
Yeah, murderous vixen, and I'm gonna hire this guy. Oh, Tony Soprano. He looks like a good match for one of them.
He's gonna pay. He should have liked my baked chicken last week.
Vinny Baltasari is gonna help me murder my husband. It's like Vinny Baltasari is a fake man, and this is the police trying to set you up.
Yes, absolutely. And let me just tell you, imagine that scenario, but it's not the police. It's a real fucking dude.
Oh
and you can hide everything.
So I think, well, we're speaking in such broad terms. Why don't I let you take it away?
Dig in a little bit more because, and this is one, normally you know us, we love to talk shit up top, just banter, and we don't have time for that right now because this is a big story and we're going to be talking plenty of shit through it. So we're going to dive right in, and the first thing that I'm going to tell you about, first of all, you need to know a couple of broad terms or broad concepts to understand kind of how Silk Road exists.
Does it still exist?
It does not.
Okay.
Damn it. But there are versions of it, which might be the FBI and some probably aren't, and like, good luck to you. If you go and you find out some, you let us know. Because I want to keep my job, so I will not be doing investigation on this. However, I'll save that, because first I just need to explain like what it is in the first place.
Okay.
So first of all, the Silk Road is obviously illegal, right? You cannot buy, sell drugs, you cannot buy, sell hitmen, etc. So if you were to have that as a good or service, you would want a place where you can, first of all, not be found searching that website.
Yeah,
that's
like
important.
Incognito
but like
incognito
incognito on fucking steroids, which I'll explain.
Okay.
And then also you want to obviously be able to pay for it without people being like, hey,
yeah, this is your
Visa. Excuse me, did you buy a pound of weed?
May, I see that you bought a kilo of meth on...
You hired a prostitute.
Like, that wasn't me.
No, wasn't me,
That
no.
second one was me, but the first one, not me.
Decline the charge. Just decline. My card was stolen. Yeah, exactly. So you don't want to do that.
Side note, what is stopping anybody from just saying that everything was... Like, if someone... I could call my credit card and be like, I see all these charges at Aritzia. Were not me.
Who was that? I think they'd be like, ma'am.
They'd be like,
who
ma'am,
are we fucking kidding?
We have you in there every other day.
We know. They're very good at what they do.
I don't get it, because I could just lie.
You probably can once. You probably have like one purchase you can just do it with, and if you do it again, they're like, listen.
The only time that's ever happened to me, I was studying abroad, as all basic bitches do, and from Florence.
Where?
Florence.
Oh hell yeah!
Which is like,
God, I'm so jealous. It sounds. Oh my God, Italians.
It was great. It was so basic, but listen, it was fucking awesome. It was so much fun.
So fun.
And my credit card got stolen, and somebody was using it in Bulgaria, and they stole like $3,000. And I was freaking out.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't realize that I had like saved up all summer, obviously, to like take cash away for study abroad, and I didn't realize that I could just get it back. And I called my mom like freaking out, and she was like, "Oh, you just call the bank and tell them that you're not in fucking Bulgaria. I think they're gonna believe you."
Yeah.
And they did, and I got it back. And then ever since then, I'm like, when am I gonna do this again?
Yeah. Well, I mean, treat yourself once. I don't know.
I think I already did my once though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll go to Bulgaria and just
how about that? And just
have at it. They're like, again, Bulgaria. What is the deal?
These Bulgarians, I tell you, they're going to Hermes. I don't know why.
She looks great. Look how stylish she is walking in. It's wild. Okay, but anyway, backing up. So first of all, the Silk Road exists on the dark web. And this is the first thing to kind of know about. The dark web is an area, so think of the internet as, obviously, it's all these different websites. About 4% of the internet is, indexed by search engines, which means it's, you can get to it by Google. It's readily available. It's public-facing, etc., which is not very much. It's public sites, CNN.com or whatever it is. Then about 90% of the internet is the deep web. And the deep web is things that are behind paywalls, inside sites if you have to log in and get to areas that require a login and things like that. Private forums, your bank account information, like my Neopets, that kind of shit, highly regulated information.
Okay.
And then third of all is the dark web. And the dark web is probably about 6% of the internet. And it requires a special software to access it. The software is called, or it's Onion is the domain or whatever that they use.
You're like, I got this from an Onion website.
Exactly. I'm like, they're completely fucking with me. I'm like, this is all fake. No, it's fine. So the dark web, and the dark web still exists. That's kind of like an independent thing. Which brings me to, but point being, sometimes when people refer to the dark web, they're generally referring to people doing nefarious activity within the internet. The deep web is just it's private. Dark web means generally private, it's bad, or it's anonymous. A lot of countries that have censorship will have political uprisings and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Occur on there.
Or is it kind of like when you can get a VPN in China and you can look at porn?
That is that brings me to number 2. So that's Tor. So basically, that might be similar. I think it's a little bit different. Tor is a totally legal, software program that you can use, and essentially it allows for truly anonymous browsing. Incognito mode or whatever, cognito mode is partially that, but it's not nearly to this level.
Yeah.
So you're talking about that VPN. The VPN means you have your IP address. That's basically your physical. It's like your fingerprint. It's I live at whatever my street address is. Yeah. It's your same thing for your computer. A VPN allows you to go from your computer to another computer and use theirs. So if you're in China, you can go to the US and then to the site and then tunnel that way if you're not allowed to go to that site just one-to-one. The Tor does this 100 times over. Okay. So it's you go to this computer, 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 and then that computer goes out to the website. So it's creating this onion-like web, or that doesn't. I don't know. I keep wanting to make this
I'm thinking the layers. That's
there's layers. Yeah. It's more like a spider web. I feel like that would have been a better, but spider web might have been kind of
confusing because of the web.
Web would have been
damn
it. Yeah.
A spider's nest.
Yeah, exactly. But point being, it bounces you around a billion damn times, and then it's actually anonymous. When you go to that, no one can find you.
People are so fucking smart.
So smart. I am
so dumb.
Back in the day, I installed...
listening to you explain that, I'm like, huh?
I mean, same. No, but I remember, I'll go into this in more detail, but I remember finding out about this for a reason I'll explain. And I installed Tor, and I went on the Silk Road way back in the day, and I just looked at it and was like, ah!
What year is this? How old
2012.
Okay, so you're how old then? 20? You're 20,
21?
Yeah, because I was 22 then, so 21. You were 21, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I I lived in Austin, which is important to the story.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Okay, and so the third part is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was, made in 2009. It was kind of made in response to the 2008 crisis, where everyone was do you remember how like money meant nothing at that point? It was fluctuating in value. Yeah. Everyone was like, wah!
I remember when nobody could get a job and the market crashed and everybody was foreclosing on their houses.
I remember I was going into college and I was just like, off for 4 years of this shit. Good luck. Figure it out before I get out, please.
Wait, no, you weren't, because
I graduated in 2013.
Oh wait, I graduated 2012. What am I thinking? I'm thinking,
You're thinking high school. Exactly, because we both.
Yeah.
Well, I graduated 2009 from high school. 2008 was like,
was like when everything
was happening. We were like, you go to graduation, you're like, oh, okay.
I'm like, Mom, Dad, can you pay for college? Like, not fucking really, you ungrateful bitch, but we will.
Yeah, huge bummer.
We never could, but now we definitely can.
We definitely cannot. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to put Silk Road and Dark Web and all that on pause for a second to talk about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is extremely important. And
I don't get it.
I'll explain it. I'll explain it kind of. And I know there's so many Bitcoin nerds out there who are going to be like, kill yourself.
Hopefully they're not listening to this podcast. I'm
they
sure
might. I don't know. Maybe I'll put a couple SEO terms around it, and they're like, I don't know how to do that shit. If anyone does, let me know though.
That's how not tech savvy we are. We're like, how to use Google?
Yeah, excuse me. And I'm like, dark web is where you do illegal things.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bitcoin was made in 2009. It was made by Satoshi Nakamoto, which is not a real name, potentially. We don't know. And that's the whole fucking thing with Bitcoin, is it's an anonymous payment network, money outside of the banking system. It's like a currency that's not regulated by any government. And that's like the huge thing. The other side of it is that it's not physical. It is digital. It's made from blockchain, which I don't know what that is. And the thesis, and that is, maybe I'll figure that out. It doesn't matter. The thesis around it is, back in the day, they made this way where you could basically have one Bitcoin is like, can't be replicated, which I don't know how that works in computers. You'd think you'd just be able to replicate it.
Well, is it like some certain code that's unique, kind of like
or
DNA?
Not that it can't be replicated, it's like, it's unique. It's very much.
Yeah. Oh, well, couldn't they just have like endless amounts of like code?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the proper term?
Tech analysis.
Yeah. Tech analysis.
Couldn't you just code it?
Yeah. Can you just like
code the shit out of it?
Just like make it different than the other ones.
Yes, exactly. So something blockchain, and point being that you need a lot of computers to process this whatever system in the background that is mining for Bitcoin. So people are Bitcoin miners.
Okay.
Like, okay, sure. And back in 2009, it was super easy to mine for Bitcoins. You could like fire up your computer, make that bad boy go after it, and you'd get like 100, whatever, which is awesome. Nowadays, there's literally botnets which are taking over like networks for some of the clients I work with, using company resources to mine for Bitcoins because it takes so much electricity. It's intense.
I'm so confused why it requires more electricity than like regular
It's just
computer. Is it because it's bouncing around so much, or like?
No, it's because the computer has, this is good because the computer is basically, when it is just chilling, it's like using, let's call it 3% of its energy. But if it's like running, like if you do an Excel calculation or something along those lines, it's got to like get after it, and it's like, fuck, okay, I'm gonna do my job. And then it goes like 10% usage of the energy or whatever.
So that's when my computer sounds like it's taking off for flight.
Exactly. That's when it's like, where are we going?
So it's like in the middle of like a very important client meeting, and my fucking computer's taking off.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
Yeah. Exactly. So point being, So going back in time, it was made by this guy, Satoshi Nakamoto, who released a white paper around it explaining, white paper is like the fucking like background paper on whatever it is you're selling or whatever else you've made. It's like the technical details. And he put it out there. People were like, what's Bitcoin? But they realized kind of like this was a very unique thing. And that was it. Everyone was like, cool, this exists. I don't fucking care. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any money associated with it. There were a lot of theories. First of all, I'm going to talk about this for a second because it's kind of funny, about who created Bitcoin. They were like, especially, obviously right now it's a ton of money.
So nobody's taking credit for it?
No one knows who made it. No one knows who made it.
What's your... Okay, let's go into the theories, then we
All right, I'm going to talk about the theories, like the people who they consider. So Satoshi Nakamoto, we don't know who that is. That's like it's a username. That's a very common theme in this story, is people like with their fake internet names.
Interesting.
So the first person that they thought it was Dorian Nakamoto, whose previous name was Satoshi. Guy who lived in California, Japanese-American, old-ass man who didn't have like a background really in computer stuff. It seemed weird.
Yeah.
It seemed weird, but he had the right name. And what was important is that he lived really close to this other guy named Hal Finney. He's a neighbor of Dorian. And Hal was extremely smart. Like, extremely smart. Hal, if you're listening, what's up? You're good, dude.
Hats off.
Hats off. You're smart as fuck. And he was involved in this group called the Cypherpunks, which is a group of people who, like, get hard for encryption.
Okay.
Yeah, they, like, fucking love it. They love it. They think security and privacy and encrypting everything is, like...
very important.
The thing to do.
So, like, oh, God, what's his name? The guy who, the guy who got in trouble for, like, espionage or whatever. Not espionage, but... you know what I'm talking about. They just had a documentary about him.
He's in Russia now.
Yeah, he's in Russia now. Shit.
Edward Snowden.
Edward
Snowden's a little...
So they're, like, they idolize him, probably.
Maybe. I don't know enough about Edward Snowden to comment on that.
Basically, he, like, whistle blew on the government because they're all spying on us, which is now common knowledge, but at the time was not common knowledge.
Everyone was like,
and
what?
Yeah, and so people were...
And now we're like, what's up, NSA? How are we doing today?
Pretty much.
How's your morning going?
I heard a really good argument against that, actually, where, like, people were like, when people argue, because this has always been my argument, of like, I don't give a shit if Amazon or like the web is spying on me because I have nothing to hide. And it's like, that's fine, but that's like arguing that you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting.
I definitely agree with you. That's probably a very long conversation.
Right.
But point being, it's like, I don't really give a shit about my privacy unless there was a reason that I needed my privacy. And honestly, like, I hope that never occurs.
Same, but
you know what I mean? But
like,
if it does, I would like it.
Well, I mean,
it's very dire.
Honestly, if we're both, like, let's say, you know, this podcast takes off and we're both public figures, I don't want my Alexa recording the shit I say alone in private to Mark. Yeah. That's some damning shit. Let me tell you something. I am not well. Okay?
We're fine.
I would be canceled like minute one. People would be like,
listen,
damn.
NSA, we are fine, okay? I don't want to... You go on off to your coffee breaks now. Right?
So, I mean, you start thinking about stuff like that. It's kind of like...
No, I hear you. Listen, I work in security, so that's a whole...
Yeah.
We'll put a pin in that.
We'll get back to your story. I'm sorry.
Anyway, so Hal Finney was his neighbor. He was he was part of Cypherpunks, and he loves encryptions. And they suspected that Hal wrote the white paper for him because it basically matched his exact like way of writing. So that was the first theory, that like Dorian Nakamoto was Satoshi, and that then the second theory was that, or they thought that because Hal lived close to him, and they were like, well, Hal wrote it for this guy. Right. Like, what are the odds of another Nakamoto living right by this guy? The second theory is that Hal is Satoshi Nakamoto, and they actually used this guy as kind of a figure almost, because basically they were super stringent libertarians, and they were using this old friendly retired man whose house had been foreclosed by banksters to be the symbolic figure behind the financial renaissance on behalf of all the victims of the modern financial system.
Does nobody else have this name? Is he the only Nakimoto?
Who knows?
What is it? Nakamoto?
Nakamoto.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd think there'd be
I was like, is that like John Smith in Japan? I don't know enough about like names in Japan.
But like, even Planert, like, it's a pretty uncommon last name, and if you search Planert on Facebook, there's a lot of us. You know, so
listen, I'm just telling you, I would imagine they've gone through this mental exercise, but I don't know. Personally, for sure. And then, interestingly, on the actual website for Bitcoin, there was the username Satoshi Nakamoto, who they can't figure out who it is, wrote, "I am not Dorian Nakamoto." So they were like, what is that? What did that mean? What are you saying? So that's still confusing.
Like it's somebody else who's like fucking with everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Probably. Well,
then whoever did this is brilliant.
Then there's another guy that comes in, Craig Wright, who's a computer scientist, who's repeatedly been like, I made Bitcoin. And everyone's like, okay, but like, it's weird that you're telling us, first of all. And second of all, also like, can you prove it? And he's like, I cannot.
That reminds me of like serial killers in prison that are in there for life anyway. So they're like, oh, this girl went missing and I saw it in the newspaper, so I'm going to claim that I did that too.
Yeah.
And really, it's just like a false confession to get like notoriety because they're like, no, it's mostly like because they're like sick and they want to be in like the newspapers and shit. And like, so like, it sounds like one of these guys who's like,
yeah, right.
I'll take credit for this and it's going to get my name in the newspaper and I'll be famous.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about him, so...
Or maybe not. Or maybe
he made it, and now he's like, well, you're right. That's a great point. I can't show I made it, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so he's out there just saying he made it. Mm-hmm. Dorian Nakamoto's like, I'm an old Japanese-American man. What is going on?
Imagine, like, knocking on that guy's door, and he just comes out, and he's like, what? Like, I was just, like... watching reruns.
Yeah, I'm like watching like Family Guy.
Yeah, what is going on? What do you think I did?
Then there's Hal Finney, who is like definitely a basement dude, who is just like, I've got eyes on him. Okay. And then I think it's Hal, personally. And then there's another theory, which was put forward by McAfee, do you know who John McAfee is?
No, sorry.
McAfee Security. He's an interesting dude. He is no longer the CEO there, but he founded it, and he is a controversial and outspoken one-time software pioneer for McAfee, turned international playboy, hot, has revealed... I'll go into it.
Who says who? Him?
Probably, but I will go into what he did for Bitcoin in a second. But his theory is that it's a team of 11 people who did it over a period of 5 years.
Okay.
And he says that Craig was one of them. So
I believe my theory...
That actually sounds kind of legit.
My theory is that it's not obviously just one person. I think it's a group of people that are fucking brilliant. I'll give my hat off to them. But I think that it's a group of people that probably had like similar ideologies. Like libertarian sounds correct in that way. They just want to like kind of remove themselves from all the restrictions of government, whatever.
Especially with currency, and especially that year, makes sense.
It does make sense. And you can see how people would be passionate about that, so they probably
just, they were like, y'all are fucking it up in a big way, in a massive way.
Yeah.
So who knows? But anyway, so that was what Bitcoin kind of like the story of who founded it. ? We don't know who it was. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Bitcoin was based on blockchain. I've already talked about that. And it came around and everyone was like, no one gives a shit about this. And it started to grow in a little bit of popularity until finally Bitcoin Pizza Day occurred.
Pizzagate?
Pizza Day.
Okay.
But I wonder, I know, May just got so excited.
I'm like, Pizzagate? What? I'm like, this is when Pizzagate started? Which, by the way, I finally found out what Pizzagate was, which I didn't know what it was. And apparently they thought that there was like pedophiles in a Pizza Hut or some shit. Like in a pizza restaurant.
Sounds correct to be, maybe. Like,
who fucking knows anymore?
I don't
know. Anyway, let's talk about this.
Bitcoin Pizza Day is the reason that like it's sometime in May, I believe. Okay. And I kind of want to celebrate it this year because why the fuck not? It's the the day of the first Bitcoin transaction ever.
Okay.
So this motherfucker he went on a forum and he's like, I will pay 10,000 Bitcoins for a couple of pizzas. The quote is, like, maybe 2 large ones, so I have some leftover for the next day. And then he carries on, I like having leftover pizza to nibble on later. You can make the pizza yourself and bring it to my house or order it to me from a delivery place. But what I'm aiming for is getting food delivered in exchange for Bitcoins where I don't have to order or prepare it myself, kind of like a breakfast platter at a hotel.
What?
This guy's fucking nuts. But point being, he was like, hey, I'll give you 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas.
Yeah.
And this had never occurred at this point. This is the first transaction that it's ever happened. So they do it, and it ended up, the equivalent, some guy fills the order and gets 10,000 Bitcoins in exchange for about $40 worth of pizza-ish.
Okay, yeah.
And that 10,000 Bitcoins today is worth about $80 million.
What?
It's the most expensive pizza order that has ever fucking occurred.
Oh my god, so...
You could own, like, a significant portion of a pizza company for that.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Right? I'm still not well.
Wait, I'm kind of confused though. So he had this 10,000 Bitcoins, which were...
This is back before no one had ever bought anything with them. It was probably in 2009. I should have written down the date.
So did he go to like a pizza place and say,
He went on a forum.
Okay.
So, because there was no one accepting Bitcoin, obviously, at that point.
Right. So I'm just kind of confused, like... And then it was just like a random person who gave him a pizza?
A guy in the UK apparently was like, why the fuck not? Which I kind of cool. You know?
No, that's
like,
amazing.
I mean, also, well done, sir.
Yeah.
Like, the winner of this entire story is Pizza Dude.
See, I was thinking that, like, because 2 pizzas were worth 10,000 bitcoins at this point, that it would dilute the bitcoins, and they would be like...
So that's the thing, is back then...
it doesn't
You're kind of nailing it, is back then, that was the value of the Bitcoin. Kind of. Not even. Like, they'd never been used to buy something. They didn't have value.
Right.
And that's the whole thing with currency, is it doesn't have value until you put value to it.
Yeah.
So at that point, no one had ever used it to... I mean, like, money.
Yeah.
If I go to a store, they only have I can only get coffee because they're like, well, $3 equals coffee.
Right.
And that's, like, what we accept. So that was the same case for the 10,000 Bitcoin.
But in an alternate universe, it could be $300.
But cut to 12 years later, and we've decided that Bitcoin has a shit ton of value.
Wow, that's
Isn't that
fantastic.
Wild?
So was that person able to, like, cash out that Bitcoin and get his money?
I mean, I have no idea what he ended up doing with the Bitcoin.
Okay. Imagine if he just sold it the next day. Fuck.
I know, right? Well, I mean, who knows? I actually should have looked into that. That would have been super interesting to find out. Maybe we'll
part
do
2
an encore. I mean, there's certainly plenty to talk about with Bitcoin. Good Lord. But that's kind of the extent that I have. You get the concept of it now. Obviously, Bitcoin has been widely accepted as payment. You know, you can use it on Amazon if you wanted to.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. You
what?
Probably shouldn't. Hold it, you fucking idiots.
Don't
spend it. But you can use it for goods and services, and it's growing in value. But that's the whole thing, is that it's not tied to any government, so everyone's always like, is this real? And we're like, is anything real? Life's a scam. Like, what are we doing here?
Is my credit card debt real? No.
No. So I may as well buy 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin for $80 million.
I recently, I've just been, like, horrible at managing my money, and I recently, like,
quota doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And I went to go buy groceries, and I got declined.
No.
And they went, like, actually, the first time I got declined, I didn't believe it, was, buying wine, and it kept getting declined, and I was, like, taking
like, how dare you, Visa?
But I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, that clocks. I wasn't like, oh my god, run it again. I was like, that makes sense. And they kept being like, oh, it's a system. I was like, no, it's not.
That's your girl.
And then I found a 20 in my bag, thank God, so I was able to have my wine.
Oh, what a relief.
But yeah, it was embarrassing.
Good times. Point being, money is just a concept. And as is Bitcoin. So they are very expensive now, and I wouldn't recommend spending $10,000 for anything. Anyway, they are an anonymous payment source. So now, circling back to what we were originally talking about, we've got the dark web, which is where, you know, secret websites and shit can occur. Like, that's where you can use the special program to get to it, which is Tor, which completely makes it anonymous to access. And then we have Bitcoin, so it's anonymous for payment. Fucking dope. Cue Ross Ulbricht.
Okay.
This dude, Ulbricht or whatever. So, Ross Ulbricht enters the scene. We have all the keys that need to be there for the Silk Road to exist. Now we need the guy to actually start it. And this guy, born in 1984, so he's what 30?
No, he's like 36, because Mark is born in 1983, and he's 37. So that's how I measure that.
Okay. in quantities of marks.
Yeah, in marks.
He's 1.05 marks.
Yeah.
Perfect. And he is an extremely generic white dude. He is from Austin, Texas, and was very into science growing up. He went to Westlake High School, which I used to run past. Like, I know I lived in Austin for 7 years.
Is it a huge high school? I picture all high schools in Texas being giant.
It's pretty big.
Okay.
It's pretty big compared to Northeastern ones, but not nearly as big as it could have been compared to other Texas ones.
Okay.
It's also like downtown, which is kind of cool.
That's sick.
It's a pretty sick little location.
Good for those kids.
Like right by the water.
Yeah.
Unless there's multiple campuses, but as far as I'm aware, it was a pretty sweet spot he's got. And he was pretty normal. Like, he was a physicist. Like, he went to school. He got a full ride to UT Dallas to study physics, and then got another full ride to Penn State to study physics. So he's a smarty pants.
Wow.
Very intense libertarian.
Okay.
So was not into government. Really, and Austin's got a lot of alternative stuff going on. So
and this might be controversial to some, but I think that a lot of people that are what I like to call too smart for their own good are libertarians. My brother's like that. He's the kind of guy, he got a perfect score on his SATs and stuff like that. He's very libertarian. Like Dave Smith, brilliant libertarian.
So the concept behind it feels like it should make sense, but unfortunately, once you start adding in social stuff, I think that things kind of start to fall apart.
Of course.
And that is unbelievably a longer conversation.
Yeah.
we will only do if you write in.
But it's certainly a trend that I see where people that are like objectively extremely brilliant, very smart, seem to really like resonate with this ideology.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are in this story too, and it obviously comes into play with the Silk Road. And he's also a major minimalist, which is just not hot, so whatever. So he goes to Penn State, he graduates, and then he comes back to Austin and starts working for his friend's book company called Good Wagon Books. Mm-hmm. And the whole concept of Good Wagon Books, which is like the most Austin company I can actually think of, is there was a wagon that went around the streets and they knocked door to door and asked for book donations.
Oh my God, how adorable.
How adorable. And then they would resell those books.
Oh, okay.
And then whatever books didn't resell, they'd donate to prisons. So it's kind of funny because you're like, you're donating, love it. And then, you're reselling, capitalist. And then you're donating again. And what is going on? It's the circle of libertarianism.
I like to think that the people knew not to buy the books from them because it was going to go to a prison, but maybe not.
I have no idea. But point being, let me just say that this sounds like a interesting business model that has certainly a ceiling.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you're going to be like raking it in.
Yeah.
And he had a journal that was actually out there, which I was reading through, and he was like trying to get jobs in business. Like he tried to get a job at a PE firm, a private equity firm, and didn't get it. And then he was doing online editing of foreign research papers, which he fucking hated, and then eventually went back to this good books thing. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing was that like he got out of college and was just kind of floundering, which is like
that's standard.
So standard.
Yeah.
And it's like this guy is so brilliant. He is so smart and still struggling to like fit in the capitalist, business workplace.
Well, and it's also really challenging because
in 2009 or 11, whatever.
Yeah, it's strange because he has all these hard skills. Like, I left college with 0 skills.
Yeah.
Let's be fucking honest.
That's fair.
I'm like, I can talk to people, kind of. Sometimes I offend people, and they don't like me, but I can talk to people, kind of. And then they're like, sales, great, you fucking dumbass. But, like, this guy had, like, actual things to contribute to society, and he still couldn't get a job.
So he was struggling kind of financially, but he was a minimalist, so it didn't really matter. And lived, like, with a bunch of roommates, which is fairly standard. He had weirdly bought a property in Pennsylvania during school because he was a minimalist and had like no money going out. He was just accumulating money. So he had some. It was like a shitty house. So like, don't get too excited here.
But I'm confused. How did he make money when he was in college?
I don't know. It might have been the good books or.
Okay.
Point being, he had this house. He sold it, and that got him $30,000, which is kind of important. So he. Eventually, he was like, I'm going to go and do trading. Like, I'm going to take this $30,000 in the stock market.
He sold a house for $30,000?
Or he made $30,000 off of it. Netted it. So then he had that, like, cumulative. He paid off the mortgage and stuff.
I was like, dang, PA is cheap. What is it, Amish?
Yeah. It's a cabin. It's just no electricity.
Right.
It's like, I'm a minimalist.
I'm like, you're taking this a little far.
Oh my God, you can't charge your cell phone. I'm like, okay. Hi, password. So he went to trading, apparently sucked at that, and then he eventually was like, okay, I'm going to go back to this goddamn Good Wagon Books or whatever, and I'm going to start a side project called Underground Brokers, which eventually was named Silk Road. And the whole concept of Silk Road was it was a dark web marketplace, which was truly anonymous. And for him, remember, this guy is like a libertarian. Like, does not think government should be involved in shit. The concept of having something be truly anonymous was awesome. Homeboy also grew up in Austin and loved shrooms. Loved drugs, loved specifically like psychedelic drugs, which again is also pretty common for the kind of group that we're talking about.
Yeah, the kind of people that are like so insanely smart. They can't even like function. They can't even make eye contact.
Right, exactly. So he was like into it, and he was like, okay, I literally am not a computer science major. I know nothing about online shit, but I know about Tor. I've heard about Tor, and so he pulled it together. It was super fucking rudimentary.
Wow.
Really, really,
so
basic.
Without any like knowledge of code and anything, he put that
just
together.
Googled and forumed and put it together. And don't get me wrong, the first version sucks.
I mean, of course it does.
But like, good for him.
But it works. I mean, that's really impressive.
and I just want to quickly note, so this was all happening in, 2011 is when he actually launched the site. So this is all happening, let's call it 2010 or so, which is when I was in Austin.
Yeah.
And this guy looks like a lot of guys I've slept with. Like, he's, like, just, like, generically cute enough that, like, at a bar, like, you can't really see.
We'll put it up on the Instagram.
We'll put it up on the Instagram. Oh, yeah. Has
what?
Laura slept with this man?
Yes, or
I
no?
might have.
You know who he kind of looks like? He kind of looks like Justin Trudeau.
He does.
Like a little bit. Yeah.
He looks like a Ralph Lauren version of Justin Trudeau.
He does. He really does. But geeky and, like...
Yeah.
Didn't dress up in blackface.
Like, he's a little too skinny, but I'm assuming he's just pretty young in these pictures. Like, I honestly, of the criminals I'm aware of, he's kind of my number one pick in terms of guys I'd fuck.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Hey, it's pretty cute.
If you have any contenders...
Yeah, well, I was thinking about, the criminal... Remember that, like, really hot guy that they took the mugshot guy? We'll put that up on our Instagram.
Yes, which
really
one
sexy.
would you rather?
Yeah.
The guy who was, like, weirdly offered modeling contracts and he's like, I'm in fucking prison.
Also, I think he had, like, a wife, and I think that he left his wife.
Oh, because he
got
like...
so much attention. He was like, I'm hot now, and everybody likes me, so... And she's like, I fucking was married to you when you were in prison, you asshole.
Yeah, okay, well, that's a strike against him, but this guy organized a criminal mastermind,
exactly.
which is also kind of hot. But,
which is super sexy. I'm like, Bernie Madoff, bring it on.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
like,
go.
Jewish and a mastermind? Amazing.
I'm in. Where's the ring? I'm in. Anyway, so he is hot and, like, kind of, but he's also obviously insanely weird. That's fair. And he makes this website. It's only accessible by tour. And so now he has this website and he's like, okay, cool. But, like, I don't have any drugs on it. So that's kind of problem number one. It's kind of like with Bitcoin where they're like, well, we have this as it exists, but like, what's now? What's the next step? So he was like, okay, I need drugs to list on it and I need a fair amount. So he rents a house in Bastrop, which is like 15 minutes outside. It's like another place I know. I know Bastrop.
That's insane. Like, how do you not think for 1 second and be like, I'm going to jail? What am I going to do? Like enlist the cartel to list their drugs on my site?
What's wild is it takes a while. Anyway, and I'll get into it. So he rents this house, and then he goes and he looks on how to grow mushrooms, figures it out, and goes and he grows pretty high quality shrooms.
Good for him.
Good for him. And he like spends a while doing it. He grows a pretty large amount, and it's actually pretty dramatic. There was a point where it almost flooded, and his like landlord found out and was like, hey, I'm calling the cops, and he had to like race there and like pull him out in time. And it was like very where he's like,
side note.
Yeah.
Is it true that shrooms grow out of cow poop? Like, so does he have a bunch of manure down there? Like,
I mean, honestly, I think it's the minerals that are present in it. Yeah, so you could probably do a version that's not like just cow shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think so.
Wow. Huh.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So if you have a farm, just say it.
Just pluck those mushrooms off and eat them.
Just throw the idea out there. If you see some shrooms growing out of the cow shit, you should eat it.
Make a nice tea.
Yeah. Not on the dare. So now he has the shrooms. He has shrooms. He has a website. He has a way to do this all anonymously, but like he doesn't have like traffic. And he's like, okay, so it's so funny. He's going through like normal,
like normal business stuff,
development problems.
I always think about this when I've always said if I ever have my own company, the first person I hire on customer success is going to be my drug dealer. Because I'm like, they're so good at all these. They're so talented at all these things that if they just put their efforts into like a legal career path, they would be like amazing.
Yeah, I mean and I mean it's really interesting how weirdly legitimate this got pretty fucking quickly. Yeah. But anyway, so there was a bunch of forums. There's like shroomery forums and stuff like that where people talk about things and it's not that they're talking about it all hypothetically, but the point being, there's forums where people are discussing drugs. And so he would go on these forums and he would post things like, hey, have you guys tried the stuff from Silk Road? ? Heard it's pretty good! ! And did like just really ground level shit, went around and eventually got some people to start trafficking the website and eventually got his first purchase.
Oh my god, I would be so nervous. I'd be like, the FBI is gonna come to my door.
But also, like, I mean, he would have been, like, floored if the FBI found his site. He was like,
Yeah.
is anyone gonna... And also, there's a lot of hurdles to get to your this website. Like, it's not like, you can't just Google it.
Right,
You can't be like, buy shrooms. It was, you needed to know how to access it. It had to be really, really influencer marketing.
Yeah.
Like, word of mouth.
Wow.
And it was, so totally normal business problems. First of all, he had to build a site where they automated payments, so he added the Bitcoins in. And he started doing this, and it started to grow. So he has a journal where he was talking about it, and he was like, the first couple of months were insane. We had to deal with, like, price pegging, developing vendor rankings, developing a more sophisticated feedback system, buyer stats, transaction logging, and building up the admin tool set. Okay. So basically, he had stuff listed, but his goal was not to be the developer of the drugs. He wanted other people, just like Amazon, to come on, or eBay is probably a better similar.
Like the cartel?
I mean,
kinda,
yeah. Like whoever it is that has large quantities of drugs.
So the cartel.
It's the cartel.
Yeah.
And that's
especially in Texas,
where things start to get kind of weird. I mean, this is online, so it's like all over, mostly U.S. and Canada. But how are the drugs arriving at people's doors? Like, it's not like you have like a warehouse where these drugs were sent. So like they would go directly to. It would basically be like if you bought something off eBay and you have a PO box. There are always like specifications on how you should do it to where people don't know who the fuck you are.
Of course.
Which I didn't look into, but maybe I should if this comes back around. Just kidding. But they would say like, hey, you know, drug lord 123, I want to buy 1 gram of heroin.
Damn.
Or something like that, and ship it to this address, and they would know they would want to buy from Drug Lord 123 because they have 5 stars and like 100 verified reviews. Whoa. And people would write reviews and be like, good shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh my god.
Like 100%. And I remember going on the website and being like, are you fucking kidding?
That's insane.
It's insane.
Like, there's no fentanyl in this, I swear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, but the thing is that like they would get reviews afterwards.
Damn.
So like if they sent something and it wasn't how they said, it wasn't like a normal, you know, if you're buying from a drug dealer, you kind of get what you get, you know, like there's no response mechanism.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know about that. But point being, it became this like very similar to an Amazon or eBay type experience, like where you have actual business relationships with these people.
Holy shit.
And he had to kind of help, you know, give it all the things that supported that, like, you know, a place to do reviews and a place to track shipments or whatever it was. So they go through, they do, and then he has to also obviously do market development. So have people like start to find out more and more about it. So he's planting more seeds in various blogs and things like that.
Yeah, because it's not like he can be like, oh, let me rent out ad space.
Right. Of course not. Yeah, it's very weird how you grow this kind of a website. But the word of mouth started getting around, and it got more and more things going around. And in 2011, financially, they made about $100K, and they were at the point where they were making about $20 to $25K monthly.
Wow,
which is pretty good, but also it's
good.
Drugs, so I'd kind of expect more. But like for just getting started, you know, like fair enough. And there was like competition and customer service, and they were like very professional, etc. So then people started to catch wind, like outside this kind of more community of
I remember
druggies.
Hearing about it, and I don't know anybody who's actually purchased anything off
Sogar,
but I heard
who broke the story? Gawker!
Hell yeah!
What's up?
Bring Gawker back.
Bring Gawker back. Gawker, like, I mean, we give them shit, but they did the Lord's work out there.
Yeah, they did some shitty stuff too, but they did bring entertaining fucking shit.
Well, they knew the stories that were hot.
If Gawker were still around, they would definitely be spewing out like QAnon conspiracies and shit. They would be saying crazy stuff. They'd be like clicks, like.
Oh yeah, they're like, it's just like all like the Trump supporting grandparents, just like we're like, how did Gawker turn? It's really a pivot, but okay. I mean, they're really making that ad dollar, so fair enough. Well, they ran this story, and basically the whole thing where the headline was the underground website where you can buy any drug imaginable. And obviously everyone was like, tell me more about that. I am listening, if I may.
Especially then, because everything was outlawed then. I don't even think weed was
2011. Yeah, you couldn't do shit
anywhere. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So this is like maybe my favorite part of this whole story. So Gawker does this. The website gets a ton of traffic. People start to find out. Politicians start to find out. Chuck Schumer comes in with a hot take. He goes, listen, I don't like the Silk Road. I think the federal authorities should shut down this secret narcotics market operated online with anonymous sales and untraceable currency.
Yeah.
No shit, Chuck.
Imagine if Chuck Schumer's like, you know what? I love it. The customer service is a fantastic, and it's really got me high. People are like, what's your review on it? I'm like, Chuck Schumer's like
5 out of 5. I would recommend Drug Lord 123.
Yeah.
Really great service. Fast 24-hour dish shipping. Like I like it. Yeah, I was like, what a brave stance you took. Just, we don't like it, we should shut it down. Also, the Fed's like, we fucking know, dude. Like, what are you talking about? We obviously are trying to shut it down.
Oh, we assumed that you loved it. That's why we
had no idea we were supposed to do something with it. Are you kidding?
Wait, why is it a problem? It's
just like when they had that Congress meeting where, like, all the old senators were, like, talking to Mark Zuckerberg, and they were like,
oh my god.
The website, I hate it, and why is it so mean to me every day, Facebook? And they're like, you're talking about Twitter.
Dude, that was, Twitter sucks.
Oh my god.
But,
it's so scary.
That was honestly the funniest fucking shit ever. They would be like, and when you say log into your password, and...
What if I don't remember my password?
And I click, I forgot my password, and then where do I go? And Mark Zuckerberg was like, I'm sorry, what's the question?
He's like every teenager helping their grandparents with technology.
It really felt
He's like,
that.
I am in a hearing helping them with their
Truly.
So that's basically like 70-year-old Chuck Schumer coming in hot with like, listen, you gotta go. It's gotta go.
I know that this is controversial, but I don't think that an underground website should exist.
And the FBI is like, yes, sir. Okay, yeah, we're on it.
They were like, here's the thing, we're going to pivot everything we were doing, because everything we were doing was pro Silk Road, and now we realize that you're against it, so let's go against it.
Totally should have been getting rid of it. It's
wow.
Completely had no idea. So yeah, they're on it. Point being, they're like, we also read the Gawker article. We're getting yelled at by Chuck Schumer. We hate this for us.
I wonder who in the Gawker community blew the whistle on this.
I know.
That's fun.
But also got them a lot of traffic. So obviously shit took off. And Ross was always going under a pseudonym under there. He named himself the Dread Pirate Roberts, which is from The Princess Bride.
Nice.
This is so Ross of him. Like, what? You name yourself after the Princess Bride? Like, the whole concept was, if you know the movie, it's like the main character, Wesley. I had to like look up this reference. Wesley like names himself that, and the reason is because he's not one specific person. It's like this like character that passes down person to person, whatever. Point being, that was also Ross for a little while, but that's the whole concept now. You know, spoiler alert is we don't know who becomes this entity, and we don't know who it is.
Smart. These people are smart.
Yeah, they're smart. And they decided it was time to bring in some hired guns, because they needed to take the site to the next level. It couldn't be running. Like, I think he got hacked at one point, which, like, LOL. He was like, I'm losing money every minute. Like, what's happening? And they were like, you've been hacked. And he was like, that's not great. That makes sense, though, because I'm literally only dealing with, like, criminals underground who are very good at this exact thing. Wow. So he hired a bunch of people, and he got, like, it was weird, because then he, like, was in a management position. And he got a fairly wide range of employee types. So he had SYJ, who was this is a quote from his journal again.
Okay.
The schmoozer, who winds up being a waste. DA, the model employee, super enthusiastic, hardworking, and trainable. Then there is Utah, who is professional and does it for the money, but gets the job done, but heart isn't actually in it. So just like kind of like.
So they all sucked.
Yeah, right? Except for apparently DA, whoever that is.
Oh yeah.
But point being, he's like this little guy who's running his website, and he has to like have employees, but he's calling them by like his Princess Bride nicknames or whatever. And it's just like, how do you pay these? Like, it's wild.
Yeah, how did they get paid?
Probably Bitcoin, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're probably fucking rich now. Damn. I wish I was part of this.
I know. I mean, like, if I was in Austin, I could have had sex with him. Like, what is going on?
You did have sex with him.
I might So he kept growing, and then it got to the point where they expanded. Initially, it was mostly shrooms. Then it went to shrooms and acid and, things like that. And then it expanded to, like, heroin and other stuff. They briefly did, like, an arms part, which is shady, where it was, like, unregistered weapons.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Like, everything you would imagine that's not allowed. And then there was obviously, not sister sites, but other sites that did even more shady shit, like child porn and things like that.
It's like child trafficking and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
God,
like, all the stuff that's illegal.
Yeah. I think it starts out with this guy's like, I want to do this thing that's like my own and like different from the government. And then it very, very quickly gets into that he's peddling heroin, which can kill people, guns, which can kill people, and like, child porn and horrible things that like are like
opening the door for those too.
And they're very, very clear cut, like hurting people.
Like moral problems versus like acid and shrooms where it's
and
like
weed, which is
everyone's
fun.
kind of like, we'll get it,
Right, exactly. But like if you're going to actively like hurt people and get them addicted to a substance that's going to ruin their lives and or traffic their fucking bodies through, like that's really, really unfortunate.
And then like the hits and stuff like that. So he got to the point where
the literal murder and stuff like that.
Like murder.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where he was making $300,000 a fucking day, which is a good chunk of change. Which is goals.
TBH though, less than I would assume.
I would imagine though that's partially because it's just like an Amazon or any of those platforms. It's not just the money of the selling of the drugs. It's a fee on top.
That and like, does he have to now launder the money or it just goes through?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, absolutely. So there's now all of a sudden you have all this Bitcoin and they're like, you can't just go to Chase Bank and be like, hey, can I?
Yeah.
Like there was, this starts to get much more complicated, but like there's ways obviously to transfer that into US dollars and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But those websites are, there's different places to do it, and they're also like going to be suspicious if you all of a sudden come in with thousands and thousands of them. Yep. But point being, you can do enough to be like, fine.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're very comfy.
So that was probably him like pushing the boundaries.
So he got to that point, and he keeps growing and growing and needing more folks, and has the weirdest relationships with his employees because it's strange. He tells no one in his life about this except for his girlfriend at one point, which turns into kind of a problem and dramatic.
Listen, don't tell your girlfriend anything.
Unless
you're Mark Norman, tell her everything.
Or Matthew Broussard.
Yeah.
Though we're fairly open books.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, the FBI is like, listen, Chuck Schumer said we got to find you, so like we're fucking on it. So they send in a guy to go like undercover in the Silk Road, and this guy immediately goes corrupt, just out the gate.
Love it.
Out the gate. It's so... I am obsessed with this. Just, I don't even remember his name. He's in there.
Am I right?
Just immediately was like, there's way more money in this than... I make $65,000.
Speaking of, have you seen the 7-5?
No.
Oh man!
Is it worth reviewing?
Yes, it is incredible. It is. It's a story about cops in the 80s that were like a part of the crack epidemic, and they were like just totally exploiting drug dealers.
Yeah.
And they were part of the drug dealing system, and like their whole argument in the documentary, and they went to jail and the whole thing, but like their argument was basically like, we were getting paid like $30,000 a year, and we saw how easy it was to make money, and it was just too attractive to us, and we knew that like none of the other police officers were going to tell on us, and it was like really fucked up. But anyway.
I mean, I think that's honestly almost the exact same thing that happened here.
Yeah.
Where he goes in and he makes like these fake accounts, and all of a sudden he's like, this is hard to get part of. Like, no one's watching me. I'm gonna make some money off of it. Like, what? So,
and it's such a sneaky way to like get the money out that like he could even like then turn them in like months later,
right?
And
what
made
was funny
millions of dollars.
Is he went in there as a distributor? This guy did, and he was using like police seized heroin or something like that in his distributions to gain the trust of these folks and to like do large enough sums of transactions that they would trust him. But then he was just siphoning off the money at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas like, no shit, why would I not just do that? I'm in charge of everything.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
Right.
Did he go to jail?
He did. And honestly, this case, there's so many twists and turns. So there's definitely parts of this that are so juicy, and I recommend. There's books on it. It's longer than our ish podcast.
But let this introduce you guys, and this is
it's a hot take.
Yeah.
And so point being, the FBI is trying to get them. They just really struggling to nail anything down. They're sending in folks. They're just getting immediately just been like shiny. Like, we love the money. Give that to me.
They just keep they keep putting people
Send
in there.
folks in the, we lost another one.
Yeah. No. But they're like, oh, you go whistle blow, and then they just go off into the sunset.
Yeah, they're like, wait, no. What happened?
They're basically fueling the Silk Road with employees.
And like literally fueling in that's the awkward part is they were selling like heroin that they had seized.
Oh my god,
or something.
Stop. I got red wine on your couch.
Okay,
are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
We're dealing with red wine stains, which is honestly what I deserve in my life. It's fine. It tracks with what I've been just a grease mess for the last 2 days, just reading about drugs online and stuff like that, and just like kind of doing my job, which is just talking to like a bunch of IT nerds, and I'm like, what am I? I'm like turning into like a little basement person.
Oh yeah.
Perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
That's my January
We've all
2021
been basement people
energy.
in 2020.
Yep. So FBI is losing people left and right to this thing. They're just like getting corrupt, and they're like not making a lot of headway in the case. They're trying to find out who Dread Pirate Roberts is, and he's growing. They're doing 300K daily, which is crushing it in my opinion, especially if that's just on like the fees. So that means that it was like a $1.2 billion industry or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money was flowing through the Silk Road. Finally, the hero of the story comes into play.
Okay.
And I'm obsessed with this man.
Okay.
He is my favorite character in this whole thing, except for obviously Russ himself, who I would have sex with.
You did have sex with.
Who I did have sex with.
You need to
Excuse me. I know. I just like don't want to get my hopes up is the problem. You know what I mean? I'm like, what if I didn't and like I missed my opportunity?
Matt listens to this. He's like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
going on?
listen, hypothetically, you're I love you, but he would too. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's hot. He's got it all going on. So Gary Alford is a tax investigator. Gary Alford does not have a cool job. He works in Manhattan at like a tax office, which is like the FBI, but like tangentially. Like, they're not involved. It's the department where they're like, yeah, and you're involved too. You have done nothing of value. He's new. He's pretty junior.
Or nothing interesting.
They're not interesting. He's brand new. He's a tryhard. He's super fucking annoying, probably. I'm kind of speculating here, but judging by how everything went down, that's probably the guess.
Okay.
And like, listen, same. So like, I get it. I really identify with Gary. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm Gary. I understand 100%. He's
as annoying people, we're like, it's good to have representation.
Absolutely. And he's from Brooklyn. This like, I think he's like half Jamaican or something like that. Like, cool Brooklyn. Maybe not cool. Who knows? But like,
Jamaicans are hot. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he is. He's pretty attractive actually, and pretty junior. And he goes and he's working, and he like figures out about this, and he's not really supposed to be working on this case, but he just like gets really interested in it. Spent 3 months reading up with it, and figures out who Dread Pirate Roberts is.
Okay.
By using Google.
No way.
Dead serious, man. Dead serious.
Okay.
I'll tell you more, but my favorite part about this, I'll tell you how he actually ended up doing it, but he figures it out. He comes forward, and he is so damn annoying that he tells the FBI who Dread Pirate Roberts is, that it's Ross, and they're like, shut up. They ignore him!
Oh my god. Well, I wonder if they ignored him because he was so annoying, or maybe like so many of them were secretly involved in making money.
I don't know. Hopefully that, because I don't know which version's better, because point being, they were just like, dude, shut the fuck up. Gary, stop talking. And he keeps being like, no, like, but actually, this is the guy.
Okay.
And finally, he convinced them. And the only way they admitted to him is they sent him an email that said, congrats, Gary, you were right.
That's it. That's it.
It's so passive-aggressive.
There wasn't a cake. There wasn't a fucking parade. Nothing. It was just like, congrats, you were right.
I don't know if the Chuck Schumer part is funnier or this part is funnier. This story is one of my favorites. It's fucking
really
funny.
fun. It's really layered, and also the egos involved.
Just
in
the dick
FBI.
swinging, and they were just like, God, Gary, God damn it, Gary.
Oh, god damn it. We have to admit that this fucking asshole was right the whole time.
There's articles about him.
But we had to prove it first and to then admit
we
he was
sent
right.
we lost dudes do this. They're out there just doing heroin or something. We don't know.
Good for them.
But anyway, so this is how Gary figured it out. And it's so funny. It makes me laugh forever. So the post, or like, he went online and he was like, I mean, obviously Silk Road's going to need to be marketed, right? They're going to need people to find out about it. How are they going to find out? And he looks online and he like looks up Silk Road and finds old forums, those forums that I was talking about up top, where Dread Pirate Roberts was.
What kind of forums are we talking about? Like Reddit forums? Was like
maybe
a different thing? Okay.
Maybe like a Reddit forum would be a potential version, but there's also websites like, have you ever been to like shroomery.com or anything of those? There's websites like where it just talks about drugs and stuff like that. It's just kind of dedicated to shrooms, or you could learn how to grow them if you were so interested. Or
very interesting. Okay.
They exist, and there's forums, and they're not illegal because it's not like selling them. It's just information, you know, which is legal.
And it could just be like a curious interest, and you don't like. It's not
hypothetical,
right? Like I've listened to a lot of murder pods because that's like the genre that I like to listen to.
Hypothetical,
and
no need to worry.
No, they're actual murders that happen. But anyway, so like I've listened to murder pods before where the murderer, like he was involved in forums where, like kind of like Armie Hammer, they would fantasize about like chopping up girls and like barbecuing them and shit.
Oh my god!
And that's allowed. Like you can
do
talk
that
about that if you want to. And
I mean, look at the crazy movies that they make. Remember, Black Mirror? Like,
oh yeah, Black Mirror.
That's insane.
Yeah, but it's entertainment. It's like,
just entertainment, and that's the thing is like we're allowed to have this kind of conversations.
You could chalk things up to just entertainment.
Absolutely.
Until you have a transaction.
So there's a ton of forums around this, exactly, until it becomes real. There's a bunch of forums, and remember that he was doing all the marketing on these forums, and so Gary was like, well, I'm gonna go look at, how he was posting. And he found a post, which was deleted since then, from a user named Altoid on whatever, let's just call it
Altoid.
gunsandrugs.com, or I don't know, I'm making that up. Might mean guns.
Guns, bitches, and drugs.
Yeah. I love guns. !.com.
Guns forum. Pew pew pew.
Imagine that's just like how they go. And it goes, what an awesome thread, wrote Altoid. You guys have a ton of great ideas. Has anyone seen Silk Road yet? It's kind of like an anonymous Amazon.com. I don't think they have heroin on there, but they are selling other stuff. They basically use Bitcoin and Tor to broker anonymous transactions. All right, we get it, Altoid. You want people to it's like the most like
want people to click
it's like the most like basic clickbait like ever.
And
anyway.
Also like, why are you explaining how they do it? When you just say like
he probably copy pasted that bad boy into like a billion different things.
Yeah.
But anyway, he used the username Altoid, and that's the important part. So Gary Alford, who that's his last name, was like, okay, so now I know one of the users who was trying to popularize it. Let's just check out what else Altoid was up to. And the same user had written another post where he was seeking the best and brightest IT pros, because remember, he was expanding his IT team because he was trying to grow his website in the Bitcoin community to be the lead developer in a venture-backed Bitcoin startup company. The recruitment post suggested sending an email to Ross Ulbricht at gmail.com. You fucking idiot.
Uh-oh.
That's how Gary cracked the case.
Good for Gary.
Listen, one of us, you just have one guy. If Ross had cheated, we would have figured that shit out in 2 fucking seconds.
That's right. There needs to be more women in the FBI simply because there would be no unsolved cases.
No, are you kidding? It took them this long to figure this out?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Gary, I mean, I'm going to give you credit where credit is due, and you're my man, but also, like, this should have been handled
by a woman.
From the start, yeah.
By a woman.
We
would have been able to
by
figure it out in
honestly,
2 seconds.
not even a woman, like a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we would have handled it. We would have, literally me that year, I could have figured this out.
Or we would have been like, why do we care about this? And it's like, they're selling drugs to their ex-girlfriend online behind their girlfriend's back. We'd be like, oh, give me the case.
Give me the case.
We're ready to solve
Where's
it.
Where's the laptop? Actually, I got my phone. I don't even need it.
Don't
worry about it.
I have my intuition. And listen,
I think I'm hearing a Ross.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The moon's just changed. My period came.
Yeah.
I know it's Ross.
It's Ross. He just made a lot of money. Oh my, I just came. Anyway, so nailing it, Ross is caught at this point. Well, he's not caught. Now they know who it is. Or they know with enough to like have warrants and stuff. And they're like, dope. We have a name. It's this guy. We're fucking stupid. Now we gotta get him. So the thing is that when this is an online empire and it's all encrypted. So even if they just go arrest Ross, that doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Really, because like unless he has physical paper trails, what are you gonna do? You can be like, you did that, and he's like, nah. And they're like, okay, well, all we have is that you've accessed Tor, like as via like your IP addresses and stuff like that. And if everything's encrypted on your machine, we can't really see anything, so we're not gonna have any proof.
Yeah.
So what they needed to do was have him have his machine open and logged into his administrator account on the website and get that in order to access those files and then have those be like the condemning evidence around him. So point being, they needed to find a time period where he was going to be on his machine with it open, logged in. Which, good luck. How would you do that?
Unless you bugged his house or something. Like...
Which you cannot just, well...
What about with a warrant?
But if you have a warrant, then you have to tell them and stuff like that.
Oh.
It's like, because the other side of it is like, this is part of the legal system. If you get evidence without, going about it legally, it doesn't become permissible in court. So if they did this in a way that was illegal, then the lawyers would have been like, LOL, you can't use the computer now. And they're like, well, that's not great for us. That's like kind of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So they had to figure out a way, and they figured it out. And this is a whole, again, I would, to get the full story, I would read the book, which you're not going to do. So just listen to my version.
Right.
Where they had to, like, basically lure him into using, he went to a library, and he was, like, found a little location, and they kept stressing that it was an Asian woman, which I'm like, why did that detail need to be in there?
Wait, they thought that he was an Asian woman?
No, they kept stressing that they were basically using this Asian woman to lure him, almost.
Oh my god, that's funny!
It was I was like,
because they're like, he's a nerdy tech guy.
I'm following.
Nerdy tech guys love Asian women.
Yeah, I was like imagining like her. She's like wearing a low cut shirt. She's like looks like anime, and they're like, he's gonna love it. He's gonna love it. Anyway, so she sits across from him at the library, not threatening or anything, and is just kind of fucking around with books, whatever. And he's just doing work on his computer, and he's chilling, like not really worried about it. And then another guy comes up to the Asian woman and starts fighting her.
Sorry.
No, I know.
Funny that they're like
I was like, okay.
Where they're like, he's a nerdy white man. Obviously, he loves
obviously
Asian
gonna be into anime.
Asian women. Like, yeah, and that's so fucking.
And
funny.
I don't even know if they nailed it, but like maybe.
I
don't know. Point being, she was there. And so they have another guy go up to him, another agent to this woman who I'm assuming was an Asian and not just a woman. Fingers crossed. Oh my god, can you imagine? I can't. This whole story. This is why I'm losing my mind. Okay, so he goes up to her and starts like threatening her and pretending to like kind of like attack her and like. No, this is a reason because they get Ross. So like he starts like going after this lady, and Ross is like, "What the gets like obviously he's like, what's happening?
Why is this guy attacking this woman?
Extremely flustered or whatever. Like very much distracted by a potential assault that's going on in front of him. So good for you, Ross. And the other guy comes in or I think she actually like. Swept the laptop away from him that was still open.
Whoa!
So they were able to seize the laptop and pull him back. So it was like
that's crazy.
Right? That's some fucking action movie ninja shit.
And also it's putting a lot of emphasis on like they're like, listen, this guy has no morals, but he might have like one moral, and it's to protect Asian women.
And protect Asian women, which is
good for him.
Good for him. Well, listen, unfortunately not good for him. He should have closed his laptop and then protected Asian women, but he didn't. So they arrested him and they took him down, and he was charged with basically everything. At this point, and I wish I could have gone into this, but I'm mentally exhausted, so like this is on you. But he had apparently like called some hits on some people, or Dread Pirate Roberts had, because things were like really escalating internally, and he knew the FBI was on his case and stuff like that. So no one is actually killed, but the FBI was like framing him and like pretending to kill people, and
or maybe not framing him. Maybe like
I mean,
he did order the hit,
but then they would send him an image of like the person like
dead,
not dead, but like pretend to be dead.
Right. No, I know.
And then so he thought they were dead, and he was like, "Fuck yeah!"
This would be an incredible documentary. There
is a documentary, and it's much longer than this podcast. Which I recommend reading, but they're not gonna be as funny as us. So they're gonna be all serious, and I'm like, I'm gonna fuck him. Like,
yeah, she did fuck him. She keeps denying it.
Excuse me. Was your question?
I think you're about to get to it, but I'm gonna ask. Like, he obviously went to jail.
Well, that's the whole thing right now. So he obviously, there were a number of charges on him, like a laundry list. They were like, no, all of it. We're not into it.
I mean, all of those things combined are at least life in prison, right? Like, you put
that's
out
the
hits,
weird part.
You put out, the hits sold drugs.
And so that's the problem, is that the hits are the Dread Pirate Roberts, but because the Dread Pirate Roberts isn't one entity necessarily, and that's the thing, is they can't, the argument is that they can't prove he was the one who did it and that wasn't multiple people accessing it or whatever it may be. And I don't know. I personally, from this 2 days of basic, reading some articles, I kind of think that he did call the hits, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I don't have enough information on it. However,
do you think that would be stupid enough though, like to, I don't know, because he knows that like at least some people within the organization could trace it back to him. Do you think that he'd be stupid enough to do it on Silk Road?
Maybe not. And the other side is just like, would he want to kill people? Because that's different than selling acid.
I mean,
or even heroin.
I mean, things escalate fast though, and that's how
I've seen Breaking Bad. Listen, I get
it. Exactly. You get it. You've lived it. You've seen Breaking Bad. But yeah, I feel like things escalate really fast, and if someone's like threatening your right to have this website, you do crazy shit.
I've never been in that situation. I hope to never be, but let me just say I can imagine. Just kidding. I have no idea.
And also, he's living in this like online world where like reality is not.
I would imagine that the line between reality and reality just become
blurred.
Very much so.
It's creepy.
It's wild. So point being, they had a lot of charges against him, and the most important charge, which I didn't even know what this was, is for, I guess it's called like being a kingpin. Kingpin charge. And what that means is that you're a leader of an organization that is involved in drug trafficking. So that's like
Pablo Escobar,
kingpin, and head of the mafia, head of any cartels, head of gangs, whatever it is. And that's like probably the most serious charge that they weirdly caught him on. And he is now in jail for life. Yeah. And a lot of people think he shouldn't be because their argument is he just ran a website. And like at the surface, kind of, but also all this other stuff, like etc. I think he should be out because like I'd like to marry him, I think. But like, I don't know. But point being, his parents run a website, which I feel so weird for his parents, who are just like normal Austin people.
Yeah.
Who were just like, our kid, like, we thought he was kind of weird, but like things were like fucking escalating
things
there.
Really got crazy.
Yeah, they run a website called freeross.org, which talks about like, that he shouldn't be in jail for life. And they tried to get him out during COVID because the percentage of positives there was much higher than it is in the free world or whatever.
Yeah.
Point being, they're still after it, and I bet the conversation is going to continue in the next. They've got plenty of years left to go through it.
I wonder, because it's such a hard thing. Like, life in prison is such an intense
He's
sentence.
young,
He's
too.
young.
He's smart.
It's true, but
very
like,
strange.
I mean, if he did indeed call those hits, I would have a much easier way. Like, I would be very much like stay in jail. But if he didn't and he's innocent of that, the drug stuff doesn't bother me as much. Maybe it should, but it doesn't bother me as much. Like,
no, I hear you. I'm kind of the same way too. Mm-hmm. And it's weird though, because there was a period, and this is also worth like looking into yourself, but where he ran I think a weapon site as well, but then they discontinued it when they realized like kind of how things escalated. They were selling like crazy shit, not just like free. There's a difference between selling like a rifle and like I don't know, like grenades and shit.
Like a Uzi.
Right.
But also at the same time, like, selling guns that you can presume people are buying them for illegal activities because they can't get their hands on a gun from a gun store or whatever the fuck they're called, gun shop.
Yeah. It's
like you now have to assume that gun is being used for something really fucking shady. And so
but that's the thing is he's a libertarian, so he's like,
you do you, I do me, like
kind of, yeah. So it's an interesting argument, and I agree with you that the drug stuff doesn't bother me nearly as much. But he was definitely doing a bunch of hard drug stuff, which is
tough, horrible, and
it's an interesting case. And
I would be curious to know, and there's really no way to know, but I would be curious to know how many people died because of this website.
The flip side is the stuff
would
on
they
this
have
website.
Died anyway?
That and the stuff on this website was good. Like, it was good shit. It was way higher quality because they had a verification method. So you could get better stuff with more, like, a lot of the times you die because of,
shit,
or I don't
like
know
fentanyl
anything, but it's like, impurities and stuff like that are, you know, you get an incorrect dosage or.
And that's what makes taking drugs so scary, and that's what, like, hopefully, like, with Oregon,
that's why I was like, it totally ties into our Oregon story.
The drugs, like, hopefully, I mean, nobody should be doing heroin. I'm not advocating for that, but I will say that usually it's not like the actual heroin that kills you, I don't think, unless you do like a way too big of dose.
Right.
But usually it's because there's fentanyl in the heroin. From what I know, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but like that's what I know. So like if there was some way to like regulate it so that you know exactly what you're getting and you know like how much you should take,
right,
that would be kind of a good thing.
Well, let me just tell you,
maybe I'm being
shoot that. Right no, I hear you, and I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah,
I just know
I don't want to sound ignorant because I really don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, me neither. But that's kind of the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah.
We're back to exactly what
I'm like. I don't want to sound ignorant, except for the past 6
everything
hours
I'm gonna say to you. But besides that, I would just like love if I didn't sound ignorant. So that'd be great.
I'd like for you guys to know that I'm not trying to be ignorant when I'm ignorant. So.
But point being, moral of the story is just like, what an entrepreneur.
Totally. I mean, he has a lot to offer. I'm sure he's running something from prison.
He's probably running, like some little prison system. I don't know.
Totally.
They probably are not giving him a computer.
No, definitely not. Is he in like one of those like sick ass like Martha Stewart prisons?
I doubt it. I mean, he's not. Well, he is rich, but like I don't think
that really matters, right? Does Texas have private prisons?
Probably, which we should unfortunately do an episode. That's gonna be a sad episode, but we should probably do an episode.
It's
about
a really
really
sad thing, yeah.
But the moral of the story is that this guy had a vision, and he certainly really ran with it, and impacted a lot of people. So,
and it could have been something amazing.
And it's also incredible how I was completely struck by like it was just him with a computer, and he like made it happen, and like it took some time, but like it eventually Gawker just really made it take off for him, and like I'm proud of him. Proud of you, Ross. I mean, bummer for all this other stuff. You should have called the hits and the Kingpin and all that, but
we're proud of you in jail.
You got the word out there. We're aware. So
wow.
Yeah. And Bitcoin also, he's definitely pretty responsible, I would say, for the growth of Bitcoin.
Oh,
I really think that, I mean, I'm not a fucking analyst, but
yeah.
Let's just call it. Yeah, he did it. He made it happen. But like anonymous payments, that's...
So when exactly did Silk Road get shut down?
Oh. I think it was 2013 or 2012.
Okay.
So it was up for like a year or two.
Oh,
like not that long, but like,
wow.
Can you imagine that amount of growth?
Well, and also imagine a year or two having this like crazy idea that you had, and then it comes to fruition, and you're doing it for a year or two, and then you go to prison for the rest of your life.
And especially when you're like in your late 20s, where we're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, he probably was like, I'm running a business, and what people do with these guns,
right? And homeboy,
nothing to do with my business.
He also like was trying to get a job.
Yeah.
And he couldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
That's
point being, he's super hot, so...
I don't know if he should
Not
be serving
super hot.
a life sentence. I think that he should probably be serving at least like 20 years to life.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that feels like a...
I wonder if he'll get out... Can you get out early on life, like, for good behavior?
I know that, like, if you get, like, let's say you get 25 years to life for, like, a murder charge, you can get out in 25 years, depending on how you do in prison. But if he just got life sentence, it's just life sentence.
Oof. Well, I think that's what he got.
Yeah.
Well, you can go to freeross.org if you feel passionately about this, or you can move on with your life if you're
Laura
like me.
will be sending him
I know.
pictures of her tits.
Ross, I miss you. Remember our night at Blind Pig?
He's like, I do. We went to Stubbs in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. We
Stubbs'
had barbecue together. This was fun.
That was so fun.
What a journey.
How good do you feel that this weight has been lifted off your shoulders? You told the story. It's done.
I know. It's like my story to tell. I just felt a personal connection because of the Austin part. I was like, what is up?
And I will say, I mean, I think that was probably the most in-depth story that we've done to date.
I know.
That was really incredible.
And that's the thing is that all the pieces of it, I was like, I can't leave Gary out. Like, I gotta talk about Gary. He's fantastic.
And like everything flowed really nicely. You did a really great job. I hope that everybody enjoyed it.
If you did, you know the drill. Like and subscribe.
Tell your friends. All that stuff.
Tell your mom. Tell Ross. Please tell Ross.
Yeah.
And May, do you know what our next one's gonna be?
I don't actually. I was thinking about that.
We should do GameStop.
GameStop? Okay.
Yeah, things are up. Things are up. It's fucking wild. And honestly, it's perfect because in the next couple of days, there'll probably be a lot more info. Okay. So it's one of those ones where I'm like, do we wait for everything to play out and then do it?
You know what I kind of like? I like the idea of me doing something where like information is unfolding and then maybe we have like a few episodes in between and we do like
a recap
or like an episode where like the new information comes out, like part 2 to the first episode where like we want to put like a nice little button on that first part that I told you guys. So yeah, okay, GameStop next week.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
You'll love it. I hope. I don't know enough about it, but I think it's going to be good.
Okay.
All right. Well, like and subscribe. I love you very much. This is Laura.
This is May.
This has been Risque Business News.
We'll see you next week. Bye.